If you guys didn't know, Resident Evil 9 Requiem is coming out here soon. This is going to be by characters like Leon S. Kennedy, Ashcroft if you know the lore. However, there was something about the trailer and the reveal they were talking about that kind of fascinated me. And for me, this was the idea of zombies maintaining certain habits or hobbies after they became deceased. Maids cleaning or people flicking light switches. And this brought back to me one of my favorite concepts and one of my first videos on my channel. Environmental storytelling. Now, when I say environmental storytelling is my big niche and is like the biggest thing that makes it so I love games, this is it. Environmental storytelling quite literally is my big part. And any game that does it terribly is just not very fun to me personally. The reason it's really big to me is because quite literally the first public video on this channel is me going through the Halo series and looking at the Halo environmental storytelling. And it's kind of cool to come back around. And with Resident Evil 9 coming out, I think it's going to really have to emphasize, if they're going to go the whole shtick with the zombies maintaining some of their humanity, it's good if we can really get the environmental storytelling down. So first of all, to start off, what is the purpose of environmental storytelling and what is it meant for? Well, the purpose is to explain why things are there or how things are done. More importantly, to relay information to the player that they can use for themselves. Environmental storytelling 9 times out of 10 is more so meant for the player rather than the character the player is playing. Because the character really shouldn't comment much on environmental storytelling because that kind of ruins the idea about environmental storytelling. Environmental storytelling should give you an idea of how the state of things are. For example, when you make it to the police station, guess what? There is a bunch of body bags out front, and if you play as Claire Redfield, there's a bunch of graves digged out in the same area. It's kind of a weird detail, but it already gives you an idea of how fucked the situation is. And upon entering the police station, there actually isn't any zombies immediately. In fact, you just find sleeping bags, sleeping cots, which, by the way, sleeping cots are fucking uncomfortable, miserable to sleep on. But that being besides the point, the idea is that this world was here before you were. Okay, so for a little bit of background information, the character you play as in this game is Leon S. Kennedy. He was essentially meant to come to RPD, Raccoon Police Department, about a week ago before this game takes place. However, he was told to stay away, and after hearing nothing, he decided to come back. So, in what way can we remind the player that they were meant to be here? Oh, wait a second. How about his office? Finding the West office, this is where Leon's desk is. What's great about this area in particular is that the party for Leon is still evident. You can see a welcome Leon, you can see balloons, you can see some of the confetti. You can see that whatever happened here, there wasn't even enough time to clean up. Whatever was here, this is kind of a haunting reminder that Leon was meant to be here earlier, but now he's here when everybody that was meant to celebrate with him is most likely dead or deceased, or walking around. On your desk, there is a note that describes that your first mission as the rookie is to learn the names of your fellow police officers. Yes, it sounds dumb, but it gives the explanation why your desk is locked, and more importantly, it makes sense for a first mission. If you're going to learn how to work with these people, especially in arms in a dangerous police department setting, you probably want to know their fucking first names. However, on the note is the really, that cherry on top for that storytelling. The storytelling of the note is essentially at the very end, covered in blood, is an extra note that says, "Be glad you ain't here, rookie." Now, the reason I want to put emphasis on this is because it's one thing to write something snarky like this, but to write that with no idea and no feeling that anybody's going to read it is, it's kind of dreadful. It's fucking sad. Now, upon opening the desk, you can actually find your fucking little name tape in there. But I gotta get something out of the way. Leon S. Kennedy uses a VP7 handgun. This is a handgun that was not produced very much. And somehow, this police department managed to find a VP7 extended mag. I don't know how often or common they are, but that's total bullshit. But, I know it's meant to reward the player for doing a puzzle, but come on, We'll get on it later. So continuing off of puzzles, essentially you learn the only way that you can escape this police station is by going underground and basically finding these medallions on statues to open, to go underground, to go into the parking garage, and hopefully there's a way out there. Now, first of all, your first question is, why the fuck does a police department have a giant statue mechanism that goes off of medallions? Well, it is explained. If you keep your eye out, you can actually see that this police station used to be actually a museum. It was a museum repurposed into a police department, and there's still lots of echoes of the past of it being a museum. So instead of just having random puzzles, these puzzles actually somewhat make sense. While it's still quite out there, if you look into the lore, it makes it so you have more curiosity of why the setting is like it is. And, well, I mean, it's a bunch of art pieces that have medallions that react off of what combo you... Look, it doesn't all make sense, but at least he makes a little bit of effort to explain why the way things are. Now, you've probably been exploring the police department for a little bit. One thing you can find is a room with a map. On the map, which you grab to give yourself a layout of the building, on the map itself though, the little model, you can actually find that there was barricades marked down or areas locked off. This meant that the police department themselves, they were trying to maintain order and come up with fallback plans, but unfortunately either stuff wasn't done or it was too late. Now, here's the biggest niche about environmental storytelling that people don't seem to really fucking understand. Notes do not count as environmental storytelling unless it's done afterwards. What this means essentially is let the player have the chance to connect the clues to themselves, and then the note can be used to help clarify the player's belief, ambition, or what their original idea of the story was. Notes should be after. And this game does it twice, where it does it before and ruins the whole dramatic buildup. But this note is actually done really well. Basically, the idea is that was this police station holding on for a week, or how long did they hold on for, is a big question. And this note gives us a little bit of clarification, especially date-wise, of how bad things went. It seems like they survived about 3 to 4 days, and then everything else went to chaos. My best guess is, personally, I think parts of the building just started going down. Whether this be the second floor, third floor, first floor, or main atrium, I think just unfortunately it all collapsed in on itself and just these groups of survivors were slowly plucked out. Now, to the left of this note, it's not done very often in this game, but it is done, and we gotta talk about the yellow paint / tape epidemic. Now, if you do not know, or you're not really well acquainted with games, the yellow paint and tape epidemic BS is essentially this part where about probably 5-6 years ago, games started doing this really fucking asinine thing where they would put yellow on interactables or on things you could climb, grab, resources to point out to the player, look, this is interactable, you need to go to it. Look, don't fucking insult me. I know I'm a dumbass, I know I'm infantry, but just make it a breakable box. And once I learn, oh wait, that box I can break? Oh, then I'll go around the building breaking all that shit. Do not insult the fucking player with their dumb intelligence. Do not. Make it so the player has fun actually exploring the environment themselves. And this is something especially for this video I want to point out for Resident Evil 9. I'm going to highly incentivize, do not do this shit. Do not cover everything in yellow to tell me where to go. Use organic stuff like lighting. Halo Combat Evolved did that. Even Fear, which people shit on Fear's levels design, even Fear did that. So don't do this yellow paint bullshit, it's just insulting as hell. To put it very bluntly, after that whole rant, environmental storytelling is meant to make things make sense. Not to the player's character, but to the player's intelligence. For example, you're not going to find a policeman zombie down in the sewers unless there's a very niche case. However, you're going to find construction workers, you're going to find probably civilians. This makes sense. Give stuff a reason to be there in the first place. This doesn't just apply to Resident Evil. This applies to all future games. Make fun stories, mini stories, side stories based on visuals. It's so unbelievably effective, and it's so depressing that's not used in higher extension today. Really, it's an unfortunate case. And especially with Resident Evil 9 coming out, if you're gonna really make good on that promise of like these zombies kind of interact with the environment based on their human lives, then make that environmental storytelling really fucking good. Especially if this is potentially Leon's last journey. And, okay, he's going back to RPD, the first place where he first interacted with any virus or zombies. Add some good environmental storytelling, add good homages to the original Resident Evil 2, add stuff that makes sense and rewards the player with that dopamine of connecting shit together. Like, for example, for me, stepping into the STARS office when it's like before is cool. But now stepping into it when it's been obliterated by a literal firebomb, I mean, that's gonna be really surreal if it's still there. So again, I know this video is long, it's kind of more rant-like, but environmental storytelling is important to me. And I really hope Resident Evil 9 Requiem does it again. And it does it well. And I swear to fucking God, no yellow paint.